So we're probably about a minute and a half from the start right now, and at this point you can see the two boats down here who are starting to go off the bottom of the screen. They're both going to turn around. The first one's going to get to the line late, and the second one is going to get to the line in the position that I think they could have made a decision at about 30 seconds, where they could have been in control of the start as opposed to reaching down the line and no longer in control of the start. So you see the bow of that boat coming into the frame right here. And at this point right here, the boat below them peels off and goes down, bails out. They're too early. So at this moment, that boat that is still shown on the screen here, that boat has a decision. They can either keep approaching the line with their sails trimmed in all the way, and when they get to the line, they can turn down and run down the line because they're early at this juncture, right? So if they decide, what they ended up deciding to do was to keep their sails in and run down the line, as we see in the clip. But at this point, if instead they luff their jib and they trim their main in, they would end up, and they basically went head to wind or just on starboard tack of head to wind, and they over-trim their main, they would basically slide up the line towards the race committee boat, since the breeze is a little bit race committee boat favored. They would slide up the line towards the race committee boat. And in doing so, as we progress forward in the clip, you can see that as they slide up the line going slowly, they would end up with their boat much closer to the race committee boat, and they would start to stack up all the boats to windward of them. So at this point, right here, if they had started slowing down soon enough, instead of being 3/4 of the way down the line, they would be stacked up below these two boats here, controlling those two boats. And if we continue to progress forward in the clip here, you can see that where they would have started in this clip would have been below to leeward of those two boats in the screen. And so at that point right there, you can now see that in their previous position, they were totally all the way down the line, starting at the pin, which is great if they're expecting a left shift, or if you know a left shift's coming and you're confident in your boat speed. But in terms of high risk, high reward, it's not a very low risk play. It's a pretty high risk play, because if anything other than a left shift happens and you're not very confident in your boat speed, pretty much you have 8 boats that have leverage on you in this position. And any kind of a straight line speed race where you're not the fastest boat, or any kind of a right shift, all 8 of those boats are around you. If their boat is in the position where, if they had trimmed in their sails and gone high, they would have been in the position shown here, and they would be in control of, instead of having 8 boats in control of them, they would have basically bow even with the boat that had the best start at the committee boat, and they would be in control of every other boat on the course, even though those 2 boats that are right on their hip might now at some point have some kind of leverage on them. In 2 minutes, with a boat that close up on your hip, they're not going to be able to hang in that position. So this person, by doing that high and slow, have everything else being equal on this start, have guaranteed themselves at worst a second place around this mark, or at best case scenario with a left shift, they might get a piece of that boat that started up next to the committee boat, and they would be first at the mark. In the position that they started, they could be first by a lot, or they could be in 8th or worse at this top mark here.